not here. He died this year. And John used to be the person who organized Law Day for us. And we thank Mr. Terryberry today for taking over to put this program on. But John's widow, Shirley, is here, I believe, someplace. And we wanted to honor John Sember. He was a teacher, a middle school teacher, at Washington School. My kids went to school there, and a lot of students in Jamestown remember John Sember, and he stood for all the right things, including putting on programs like this. So this is John Sember Law Day. Again, welcome to the Robert Jackson Center, and I'll turn this over now to Mr. Terryberry.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I like that a lot. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, thank you. I'm Bob Terryberry, and I'd like to welcome you here to the Robert H. Jackson Center. I know you came from the Robert H. Jackson School, so you can't get out of that name today, can you? You're stuck with it. We're here today to talk, and we have some individuals, and we're going to talk about Law Day. And the theme this year of Law Day is the American jury system, we the people in action. And so we decided to, rather than, the people that we have here today are in the center, Judge Joseph Gerasi, and we have two lawyers with us, Ken Lasker and Greg Edwards, and we have a law clerk, Kathy Krause. She's the commissioner of the Chautauqua County Courts, and we have a recorder, Jerry Lisinski. And so we thought we'd talk to you about it, but we thought we'd maybe do it in a little different way. So today we are going to have the American jury system in action. In order to make that action take place, we have to have a crime. And so I don't know if you noticed it, but and so we're going to present a crime and that scene to you, okay, that action of the court drama to you. So I'm going to start again and present you with a problem that we will solve using the jury system. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the Jackson Center today. This is a public building, and over the course of the last couple of years, we've had a lot of students and a lot of adults here for programs, discussions, panels have been here. There was a program here even just last night, and Monday we had a movie. So a lot of things happen here, and the students that have come have always been very respectful of this building and of our speakers. But today there was a problem. When we opened the building this morning, the person that was doing the cleaning and the ladies that worked here, there was no problems down in the lobby. But we've noticed just in the last couple minutes that one of the cases has been broken into. There's a watch missing. It was a watch that was owned by Justice Jackson. It was given to him by Franklin Roosevelt, who was then the president. And that watch is very valuable. And I hate to say these words, but it appears to us that one of your kids must have taken that watch. The damage was done, and that watch is gone. It's hard to come to you and say that, and I don't want to put a damper on our program, but that's what's happened. So I guess I need to ask that question again. Does anybody see anything happen out there? Anybody see anybody at the case or break that glass, or anybody see anything out there today? I'll ask once more. Is there anybody that saw anything that would like to tell me what they saw? Yes?
I saw somebody out there today reaching into the case, taking the watch, and walking out.
You did? Oh, okay. Well, thank you for being honest. I mean, that doesn't mean you're all not honest. Maybe you didn't see it, but this young man. Do you think you'd recognize that person?
Yes.
You saw it? Okay. You can down here, please. I know there's a lot of kids here. Am I embarrassing you? No. Okay. Good. Well, I'm going to take a look and see if you recognize that person.
Right there in the end.
The girl in the pink clothes?
Yeah.
Sorry, but there's an accusation made. Do you know anything about that in the case down there? Or? You know, nothing. You have no idea. Yeah. Well, I guess we should go up the hall and discuss this. Come down, please. Bring your jacket with you. Cheers. Are you her friend? Were you with her?
Yeah.
I guess you should come along too. Okay. Well, is there anybody anybody that saw her, anybody else that saw her, or saw that she didn't do something, or came in with her? Anybody who was walking next to her, sat on the bus with her or anything? No? No other witnesses?
I saw her today and she seems to be just fine.
Did you come on the bus with her?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Okay. She wasn't involved in anything?
I didn't think that she was,
You see the two of them together?
yeah, I was together.
Okay, well, why don't you come with us too? Anybody else? Saw anything or knows anything about her? Yes.
I saw her today.
Yeah.
I saw her run down the street from the building.
She left the building. Did you leave the building today?
No, I did not.
Did she? Well, how about you come too? And maybe you guys can continue on with the program and we'll go out in the hall and...
All right.
Did you come with?
What, I don't know what the process, what you're going to do. Normally, if you've got a situation like this, it would be presented to the law enforcement people and in family court. It'll take quite a while, and I think I'm a little concerned that this kind of thing would reflect on the Jackson Center and as well as the school. You know, what I'm going to suggest, instead of your reporting it in their usual procedure, that we have a jury trial.
Here?
Right here.
Now?
And if she consents, and if the Jackson Center consents, and the parents consent.
Raleigh, what do you think? We don't want to...
I think it's a good idea. The Jackson Center consents.
Okay.
All right.
Courtney, would you let us go through a process of jury? I mean, you're talking about the jury process.
Doing a jury trial. Have a jury decide it instead of, you know.
Mr. Turberry and Judge Rossi, if she's going to consent, I'd defend her in the case.
What do you think?
Nothing to hide.
All right. All
Your
right.
Honor, if you'd like to do this, I don't mind, prosecuting and using some of these witnesses to testify. We could put on a trial and try to prove her guilty.
You guys willing to be witnesses? Okay. I mean,
Why don't we do that? And we'll put it on the record. We had in mind, that the jury commissioner would explain the jury process, and that Jerry Leneke, who's our court reporter up there, he takes everything down word for word whenever our trials go on. I was going to have him explain to these folks just what his job is and what the different courts do up here. But what we can do is put him to work.
okay. Well, yeah, I'm a little, I don't, all right. I don't care. It's fine with me.
I would like an opportunity to talk to, what's your name?
Courtney.
Courtney, and the witnesses with her here.
Okay.
What's your name?
Kelsey?
Chelsea.
It'd be good if I could talk
Okay.
to someone else too.
Why don't you guys go?
Right.
Yeah, you should probably.
You guys-
Who's he with? I don't know who he's with.
I don't know, well, you can go, maybe you can go over there and then I can talk
Yeah,
to these
he's a-
two folks.
okay.
And whenever we're ready to get started, we can put on a little
Okay.
trial.
All right, how do, you going to be a jury?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Why don't you
wanna
guys
go-
come with me?
okay, or you can go in the hall, that's good, yeah. Okay, how do we do that?
Can we do it?
Well, you know we have, it's happened to have. This is, in this basket, this is Taylor, provided us with the names of all the kids that are here. We were gonna use it. We were gonna use this for prizes, but we could use it to select a jury.
Instead of prizes. What do you want, prizes or be a jury? No, this is serious. This is serious stuff. So, what we're going to do, though, if you can put the names there, we can talk about prizes later. But let's do the jury trial, because if we don't do this trial, if she agrees to go with the trial, which she has, then we can get a decision here. Normally, when young people your age get in trouble, you go to family court, and you have a right to a lawyer, and the family court judge will listen. And, if there's a plea of guilty, then the probation department gets involved, and it's all handled quietly behind the scenes, as it were. But there's no right to a jury trial. So what I'm going to do, though, I'm going to put on the record to make sure that we protect the Jackson Center and everybody involved, that this young lady consents to have a jury trial and have the trial by people like you. Okay, do you have some names?
Yeah, well, there's names in here, so we'll...
which should be seat number 1.
Alicia Milk, Jersey. Yes. She will act as a foreperson of the jury today. Joseph Jewell, Jersey. Jersey, number 2, please. Kristen Hamilton, Jersey. Sarah Lopresti, Sarah Rasmussen, seat number 5, please. Sarah Lind. Kelsey Aiken. Jacob Aldegren. Reba Munson. Katie Koslow. Thomas Eckman. And Gary Williams. I'd ask
All right,
that
Ms.
jury-
Krause, would you swear in the jury, please?
Yes, would you please stand and raise your right hands? Do each of you solemnly swear to answer truthfully questions asked of you relative to your qualifications to serve as a juror in this case, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated.
All right, the main question I'm going to ask, normally we ask a lot of questions, but the chief question here would be whether or not any of you is acquainted with Courtney Abbott. Any of you know her? All right, then you would be a proper jury to try the case. Since you don't know her, I'm going to give you the rules that you have to apply that apply to every criminal case. And this would be a serious one because I'm told the value of this watch is well over $1,000. So it's grand larceny, not just a misdemeanor like petty larceny. Now, did you want to follow up with another swearing of the jury to act as jurors, or is that sufficient?
We're all set.
We're all set? All right, are you attorneys ready?
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, the people are ready.
All right.
Courtney?
I'm going to want Courtney and you, Mr. Edwards, to come here a moment. I want to explain to all of you that whenever a crime occurs, the individual has to be arraigned, that is charged, given the charge, within 24 hours after the incident. It's usually done in a court like city court or town justice court. And then they're also arraigned after the grand jury acts on the charge. They're arraigned in county court. So we're going to arraign her here as she would be in county court. And so I would ask you whether or not you would agree to be tried here by a jury instead of going through the family court process.
I agree, Your Honor.
And do you agree with that, Ms. Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. We're prepared.
All right. And Courtney, we designated Mr. Edwards as your attorney. Do you agree to accept him as your lawyer in this case?
Yes.
All right. And I'm going to ask you now, you've been charged with grand larceny in that you are accused of stealing a watch belonging to the Jackson Center, having a value of over $1,000, a watch given by former President Franklin Roosevelt to Justice Jackson. And I want to ask you how you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
All right, do you consent, counsel, you and your client consent to have the case prosecuted by Kenneth Lasker?
I would, Your Honor. We waive any other formal readings of the charges and consent to the beginning of the trial.
All right, let's proceed. I will give you some preliminary instructions now. In a criminal case, the people, that is the prosecution, they've got the burden, the responsibility of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And so they've got to prove several elements here. They've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Courtney did, in fact, take this watch and carry it away. Got to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, and that she did so with the intention of keeping that watch. All of those elements have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And reasonable doubt would be a doubt that you would have a good reason for if somebody were to ask you the question, why did you vote this way or that way? So the prosecution has that responsibility. The accused never has to prove his or her innocence. The prosecution has to prove guilt. So the defendant is presumed to be innocent until the evidence is sufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's your responsibility, to test whether or not the proof submitted by the prosecution is sufficient to find her guilty of stealing the watch, carrying it away with the intent to keep the watch for her own. So if you're ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Call your first witness.
Your Honor, I'd like to just make a brief opening.
You may.
Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, Mr. Edwards. It's my pleasure, on behalf of the people of the state of New York, to present the case to you this morning of people of the state of New York versus Courtney Abbott. My name is Ken Lasker, and I'll be presenting the case here for you this morning. We will prove this morning, beyond any reasonable doubt, that the defendant, Courtney Abbott, stole this watch and is guilty of the crime of grand larceny. We will prove beyond any reasonable doubt that she did it, that it was valuable, and we'll ask you at the conclusion of the case to find her guilty of the crime of larceny. How will we do that? We will do that with eyewitness testimony. A gentleman who will come forward, a student, and he will tell you that he saw her take it. We will also have a witness who will say that they saw her running from the building. And you will have to determine whether or not you believe they're telling the truth, and whether we've met our burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I'll ask you to listen carefully to the witnesses, both for us and for the defendant, determine who you think is telling the truth and who you think might have a reason to lie. And at the conclusion of this case, I'm very confident that you'll agree with me that we have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that the defendant, Courtney Abbott, is guilty of the crime of grand larceny. I thank you for your attention and for your willingness to serve here this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards?
Thank you. A brief opening.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Greg Edwards, and I volunteered to defend Courtney, because I don't think she did it. And she's entitled to have you guys hear the case. Now, you've heard the prosecutor say how certain he is that he can prove she took it, and she ought to be punished. But you know why he thinks that? Because he's only talked to his witnesses. And your job as a jury is to keep an open mind, not make up your minds whether she's guilty or innocent. I think she's innocent. Until you hear all the witnesses. Because it's awfully easy to hear half the story and then make up your mind and be wrong. But I want you to listen to all the witnesses, hear what they all have to say, and then use your mind to think about whether she did it or not. And I'm certain after you do that, after you hear not only their witnesses, but our witnesses, and I plan on having Courtney take the stand and testify, I think after you hear them, you'll agree with me that she's not guilty. Thank you.
All right. Call your first witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. People are pleased to call Kellen Fiore.
Will you swear the witness in, please?
Stand, please. Put your hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please be seated.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Mr. Lasker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fiore, for coming forward. What school do you go to, Mr. Fiore?
Holy Family,
Okay, and what time did you come to the Jackson Center here today?
about 9:30.
Okay, and did you come by bus? All
Yes,
right, when you came into the Jackson Center, what did you do? Did you go directly from the bus into the building?
yes.
Can you describe to me what you saw as you came into the building?
I was coming in and I saw Courtney reach into the case, take the watch and walk out.
Okay, have you ever seen this particular person sitting at the defense table before?
No,
You didn't know her from any other activity?
no,
All right, when you were walking in, did you notice that the case was broken?
yes,
Okay, and you specifically saw her reach in and take the watch?
yes.
Okay, now, you see her sitting at the defense table. Can you point out the person that you saw that took the watch?
Yes,
Okay, let the record reflect, Mr. Lenicky, that Mr. Fiore has pointed out the defendant, Courtney Abbott. Now, do you have any reason to think that maybe you have her mixed up with anybody else, or are you sure that it's her?
I'm sure.
Okay. And why is it, you were sitting in the back of the room and kind of minding your own business. Why is it that you came forward here today to tell what you saw?
I came here for the Law Day presentation with my class.
Okay. Are you telling the truth here to the
Yes.
jury as to what you saw? You didn't know her before. You had no reason to say anything different.
No,
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You may cross-examine, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. Kellen, how old are you?
I'm 12.
And how good are your eyes?
Pretty good.
Do you need to wear glasses?
No,
Okay. How many kids walked in here with you when you came in this morning?
about 15.
And you're walking with a group of these kids?
Yes,
Why do you suppose you're the only one that saw what you say that you saw this morning? Why is that?
because I was at the back of the class and everybody was pretty much in when I saw her take it.
And you saw a girl with a pink shirt? Is that
Yes.
what you saw? Yeah, and brown hair?
Yes,
Yeah. How many other kids in this, girls in this room have pink shirts and brown hair? Is that young lady right there in the second row on the end? Does she have brown hair?
yes,
Does she have a pink shirt on?
yes,
And how about this young lady up here that just pulled her jacket over her shoulders? Is she wearing a pink shirt?
yes,
Does she have brown hair?
yes,
Is she also wearing dark slacks? Looks like jeans?
yes,
Couldn't it have been one of these two girls who look so much like my client? Isn't that true?
yes,
Now, you never saw my client before this morning, right?
no,
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just one question, Your Honor. Mr. Fiore, can I call you Kellen?
yes,
Kellen, do you have any doubt as you sit here that the person sitting by Mr. Edwards, that Miss Abbott is the person you saw take the watch?
no,
So even though he pointed out these other two girls who have pink shirts and brown hair, you have no doubt that we've got the right person on trial here this morning?
no.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
All right, you may leave. Call your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. People are pleased to call Allison Rayban.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
All right, you may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Rayban, did you also come on the bus here this morning?
Yes,
And why did you come to the Jackson Center here this morning?
I came to see the presentation that was going to be put on here for
And
Law Day.
what school do you go to?
Purcell?
Okay. And when you got here, did you come from the bus directly into the school?
Yes.
Coming into the Jackson Center, sorry?
Yes,
Okay, and when you came in, did you come in with a large group of students?
yes, about 20 people.
Okay. Were there other buses that were unloading at that time?
Yes,
All right. And when you were coming in, was everybody coming in the front door together?
yes,
Okay. Did you notice anything unusual when you were coming into the door?
I did. I saw one girl coming from the building and she ran down the street.
Okay. And why did you think that was unusual?
Well, because everybody else was coming in to the building and she was the only one leaving.
Did you know this girl before today, the one who you saw running out of the building?
Well, I've seen her at school before, but I'm not friends with her.
Okay, well, how is it that you know her then?
Well, I've heard of her at school before. I've heard her name and I've seen her in the hallways before.
Okay. Do you see the person that you saw running out of the building? Do you see her anywhere here in the courtroom here this morning?
Yes,
Can you point her out for us?
right there.
Okay, and again, I'll ask the record to reflect that Ms. Raven has pointed out the defendant, Courtney Abbott, seen by Mr. Edwards at the defense table. Now, when you said that you knew her from school, what did you know about Courtney from school?
I've heard that she's not a very good person. I've heard her name being called to the principal's office
Your
before.
Honor, I'm going to object to this sort of questioning and answering. It's not her history that's on trial here today. It's whether or not this young lady took a watch today. I don't believe that's proper.
All right, I'm going to sustain the objection, and I'm going to ask the jurors to forget that statement. Put it out of your mind as though you didn't hear it. I know how hard it is to do, but you must do that. She's being tried for stealing a watch and not for whatever action happened in school. Go ahead.
You didn't actually see her take the watch, though, right?
No, I didn't.
But you just saw her running from the building.
Yes.
Okay. And you're sure that the girl sitting at that table is the girl that you saw running from the building?
Yes.
Okay. Did you notice when you came into the Jackson Center the broken glass in the case?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Edwards?
A couple of questions, if I may. Ms. Ravan, how old are you?
14?
You're 14, and you came in here today with, what'd you say, 20 other kids, plus other kids from other schools?
Yes.
And so there's quite a good number of kids all coming into this building at the same time, right?
Yes.
And when you say you saw some girl running down the street or the sidewalk, that was quite a distance away, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because it's quite a distance from this building to the street, right?
Yes.
And you had no idea why this person was outside the building, right?
Right.
And you never saw my client or anyone else take a watch here today, now did you?
No, I didn't.
And you never had any contact before with my client, other than your earlier comments about being in the same school, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything else?
I have nothing further.
All right. You may step away, step down, as we say in court.
Your Honor, the people have no further witnesses, and we would rest our case at this time.
All right. Prosecution is rested. Mr. Edwards.
Your Honor, I would at this time like to make a motion for your consideration, Your Honor. And the motion is, I believe this case should be dismissed right here. Because I don't believe that the prosecution has met their obligation. And that was their obligation to prove my client did this. And I believe now would be the appropriate time for Your Honor to dismiss the case because the prosecution did deliver on what they said they would deliver today.
May I just briefly respond?
You may respond, yes.
Your Honor, as the court knows from your many years of experience on the bench, this is a typical motion made by defense attorneys at this time. Well, I have great respect for Mr. Edwards. I'm not sure what he was listening to. I thought the testimony was rather overwhelming, that we've met our burden, and I would certainly ask that this case continue and let the jury ultimately decide the guilt or innocence of the defendant. But we certainly feel we've met our burden to this point, and we'd like to proceed.
All right. I'm going to reserve a decision, which for you members of the jury, it means I'm going to hold off making any ruling about that until all the evidence is in. And so you still have the obligation of listening to all the evidence and making a decision at the end of the case. And incidentally, I didn't mention, but I would again mention your verdict. If there is a verdict of guilt, must be unanimous, all 12 of you. All right, Mr. Edwards?
Thank you, Your Honor. Defense would call Courtney Abbott.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please be seated.
All right. Mr. Edwards, you may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you please state for the jury your full name?
Courtney Abbott.
And Courtney, what are you doing here today?
I came to see a presentation at the Jackson Center
And how did you arrive here today?
by bus
And if you recall what time you got here?
around 9:30.
Okay. Was there anyone else with you when you came in here this morning?
Yes, there was.
Who was that?
My best friend Chelsea
Okay, and what's Chelsea's last name?
Davis.
Okay, so it was you and Chelsea Davis and some other kids that came in together?
Yes.
Okay, you have to speak up a little bit so we can hear your answer.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Courtney, you're aware that you're being charged with a crime here today?
Yes.
Do you know what crime that is?
Yes.
And what are they accusing you of doing?
Stealing a watch.
Okay. Did you take a watch out of a case here in the Jackson Center this morning?
No, I did not.
Have you ever taken anything from the Jackson Center before?
No.
Mr. Honor, I'll object to that. I'm only here to talk about the one incident.
Sustained.
Courtney, you were here and heard this testimony that was placed on the record by Kellen Fiore, right?
Yes.
Have you seen this guy before?
No, I have not.
Okay, you also heard this testimony by this Allison Raybane. You heard that this morning?
Yes.
Did you run out of this building and run down the street?
No, I did not.
Okay. That's all I have, Courtney. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Lasker, you may ask.
I just have a few questions, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Abbott. You understand that if you're found guilty here this morning, that you'll get punished, isn't that true?
Yes.
And is it also true that you said that Ms. Davis is your best friend?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that best friends don't want to see their best friends get in trouble?
Yes, I would.
And you said you never knew Kellen before today, right?
No.
You have no reason to think that he's a liar, do you?
No.
You have no reason to think he has any particular grudge against you where he would try to get you in trouble?
No.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
That's all I have, Grant. Thank you.
Okay, may sit down. Next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would call Chelsea Davis, please.
Hand on the Bible, please. The jury. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Please be seated.
Could you tell the jury your name, please?
Chelsea Davis.
And Chelsea, how old are you?
14.
And why are you here today at the Jackson Center?
To see a presentation by the lawyers and the judge.
And how did you arrive here today?
By bus.
Okay. When you arrived here today, where did you enter the building?
Through the front door.
Okay. And when you entered through the front door, was there anybody with you?
Yes, Courtney was with me and the rest of our class was with us.
This girl right here sitting
Yes.
beside me? Okay. And when you say she was with you, describe what you mean by that.
She sat next to me on the bus and we walked in together and we were together the whole time until we sat down.
Now, are you aware that they're accusing Courtney of stealing a watch this morning?
Yes.
And are you aware that it was supposedly stolen out of one of these glass cases out front?
Yes, I am.
Were you with Courtney when you walked by those glass cases this morning?
Yes, I was.
Did you observe Courtney steal a watch from one of those cases?
No.
Okay. Now, the prosecutors mentioned that, in asking Courtney, that you are best friends, right?
Yes.
Okay. But you just swore to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
Are you aware what happens to you when you don't tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Are you telling the truth here this morning?
Yes, I am.
Are you lying to your best friend?
No.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Lasker, cross-examination.
Yes, you say you're best friends. Do you talk about things and do a lot of things together?
Yes, we do.
Talk on the phone?
Yes.
MSN Messenger once in a while? And if you have a problem, you confide in her and she confides in you?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that you wouldn't want to see your best friend get in trouble?
Yes.
And when you came into the building, did you notice the broken glass case?
Yes, we did.
And did you look inside the case?
We stopped for a couple of seconds to see it, but then we kept walking with the rest of our class.
Was she with you when you looked inside the case?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you didn't have your eyes on her the entire time while she was looking in that case?
No.
That's not true?
No.
Okay, you saw her the whole time?
Yes.
Okay, you noticed this broken case, and you came into this beautiful room, and you sat down. Did you tell anybody about the broken case?
No.
Did you tell Mr. Kidder or Ms. Robbins or any of the staff here at the Jackson Center that you saw something suspicious in the lobby?
No, I didn't.
I have no further questions.
No, to redirect, Your Honor.
All right, may step down.
Your Honor, the defense would call Patrick Salemi, please.
Place your hand on the Bible. Please face the jury. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Please be seated.
Please state your name for the jury.
Patrick Salemi,
And how old are you, Patrick?
13.
And what are you doing here today?
I came to watch a presentation by the judge and lawyers.
Okay. And how did you arrive here today?
By bus.
Were there other kids with you on the bus?
Yes.
Was Courtney Abbott on that same bus?
Yes, she was.
Okay. And did you know Courtney before arriving here today?
I knew her a little bit through activities, but other than that, no.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see Courtney run out of here and run down the street this morning?
No, I didn't.
But you were with some other kids at the time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Courtney Abbott take anything out of these cases out here?
No.
What do you know about Courtney other than today?
She seems to be a good kid, and she doesn't seem to lie to anyone that I know of.
Do you know whether or not she's ever been in trouble before?
No.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Good morning, Patrick. I just have a few questions for you. Isn't it true that you didn't watch her the entire time she came in to the building? Isn't that true?
Yes.
So you don't know, as you sit here today, whether or not she reached in that glass case and took that watch or not. Isn't that true?
Yes.
You didn't see her take the watch, but she could have when you weren't watching. Isn't that right?
I guess.
Okay. And you said you didn't see her running from the building, but is it possible that she could have been running from the building when you didn't see her?
I guess.
And you're saying that she's a good kid, is basically what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that sometimes good kids do bad things?
They can.
Sometimes someone who does everything right their entire life can do something kind of dumb
Yes.
and wrong.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you ever, well, let me ask you one more question. You ever watch the news and see what's going on in the world?
Yes.
I would object, Your Honor, to the relevance of this line of questioning.
This was right towards she's saying he's a good kid. I just have one more question.
Well, I'll allow the question and then I'll decide whether to allow the answer.
Okay. Do you ever watch people after a crime that's been committed and they ask people in the community and the people say, this person was a great person. I never thought they were capable of these kinds of things.
Objection again, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection and ask the jury to disregard the question and don't anticipate the answer, and please don't use your own experience of having watched television and people accused of a crime. You're to decide guilt or innocence based on the evidence here.
Nothing further. Thank you.
You may step down.
Yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm all set. Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. Defense rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the evidence, and soon you're going to go out and make a decision on guilt or innocence. As I said at the beginning of the trial, the people have the responsibility of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant is presumed to be innocent all the way through the trial until or unless the prosecution has proved guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And you must look at all of the elements of the crime here being a grand larceny, the stealing of a watch of a value of over $1,000 from the Jackson Center. And the elements are, as I explained to you earlier, the actual taking of the watch has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The carrying away of the watch must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And the intent to retain and keep that watch must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And you are to assess the credibility of the witnesses, the believability of them, and you use the same judgment you use in your everyday life to determine the reliability of statements that are made to you or made in your presence. Now, you must not decide the case based on sympathy or being sorry for Courtney Abbott, and you must not make a decision based on which attorney you like the best or which witnesses smiled the most or looked the best to you. You got to decide it on the evidence, on the proof, and then make your decision fairly and honestly. That's our system here in America. So if there's nothing else, I'll still reserve the decision. The jury may be taken out to the jury room. Or
These guys are going to do a
If I may, Your Honor, if I could have just a moment to do a brief closing argument summation.
I jumped ahead there. Usually I think this final charge, after the attorneys sum up.
Thank you, Your Honor. Very briefly, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard their evidence. More importantly, you've heard Courtney herself get on the stand and tell you she didn't do it. You also heard her best friend, admitted best friend, get on the stand and say she didn't do it. You also had Patrick testify that he came in about the same time and didn't see her do it. Now, your job is to start with the presumption of innocence that she didn't do it, and then determine whether or not they proved their case. What'd they put on? They put on a guy who said he hadn't seen her ever before, but he saw her this morning reach in the case and take the watch, but didn't know her. But then we saw there was a couple other girls in here that looked kind of like her. Then you also heard somebody else get on the stand and say, well, I saw her running down the street. But if you remember, that was some distance away, and this person had no idea why this girl was running down the street. So I think when you listen to all the evidence and you consider it, you'll find Courtney not guilty. Thank you.
Mr. Lassman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for the privilege of presenting this case to you this morning, the people of the state of New York versus Courtney Abbott. I told you in my opening statement that I thought that the proof would prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the defendant, Courtney Abbott, stole this watch. And I believe that's exactly what we did here today. Look at the evidence, listen to the witnesses, and look at their credibility and whether they have a reason to tell the truth or a reason to lie. And very briefly, we had a gentleman come forward. We had Kellen come forward, Kellen Fiore. He has no reason to lie. He saw this girl take a watch from the glass case. He saw it. It takes a lot of courage to come from a room of kids and a room of your peers, to come forward and to be able to testify in front of a room full of people about something that you saw. He has no reason to lie, and despite the efforts of the defense attorney, he has no doubt at all that this is the girl who stole that watch. It takes courage. He has no reason to lie. We also had Allison Rayban. She came before you and she saw this young girl running out when everybody else was coming in. Pretty suspicious behavior. Again, she has no reason to lie at all. She came forward and she saw what she saw, and it's consistent. She stole the watch. She ran from the building. Defense has presented witnesses to you, and you have to look at their credibility. It's easy for anybody who's accused of anything to say, hey, I didn't do it, when they're facing punishment, when they're facing ridicule, and the consequences that come with that. She also put her best friend on, who said that they lingered by the case, but she didn't really do it. Well, who wants to get their best friend in trouble? Who's going to be able to want to say that I saw my friend reach in the case and take this watch? They talk, they're friends. That goes to her credibility. The other gentleman who testified, Patrick, seems like a nice young man, but he even said that even though she seems like a good kid, she may not have been able, who knows, if she was able to resist the temptation of taking that watch. And he didn't watch her the whole time, so he didn't know. The evidence here before you is we have an eyewitness who saw her take the watch. His testimony is unshaken. He has no credibility problem. He knows that she did it. And then we have another witness who saw her running from the building. The case is very simple and very straightforward. We believe we've met our burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and we're asking you, when you consider all the evidence, to find the defendant, Courtney Abbott, guilty of the crime of grand larceny. I thank you for your time and attention, and I appreciate the opportunity of presenting this case to you here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lasker. Well, I proved one thing. I proved that judges can make mistakes too. The charge should come after the attorneys have made their argument. However, my charge still stands. You must, if you find guilt, find it beyond a reasonable doubt, and the verdict would have to be unanimous. So follow the principles and the oath that you took at the outset of the case to try this case fairly and decide the case honestly and come out with your verdict. You may take them away.
I'll take the jury out to the hall. Is that okay? Okay. Follow me.
Now what I'm going to do is ask Kathleen Krause, who's the jury commissioner and also chief clerk of the Supreme and County Court, to talk to you. This was her original plan, to talk to you about the jury system in Chautauqua County.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll just let you know a little bit about what my job is and the important role that the jurors play in our court system. I had a much longer presentation prepared, but of course we were interrupted by the events of earlier today. As a chief clerk of the courts, my job is very similar to that of a principal of a school. But instead of working in a school building, I work in a courthouse. And instead of assigning teachers to classrooms, I assign judges to courtrooms. I also have to make sure everybody's in the right place at the right time, just like a teacher. The attorneys and the litigants in criminal cases, the defendants. So it's a lot of organizing and a lot of moving people from here to there. Scheduling, too, is important. We have to schedule not only trials, but we have other proceedings, arraignments and sentencings and a variety of hearings that have to be scheduled throughout the court day. But the most important thing that I have to deal with is the jury trials. Because as you probably know, according to our Constitution, both the state Constitution and the Constitution of the United States, almost every defendant and in civil matters, the litigants are entitled to a jury trial. And as commissioner of jurors, I have to supply those jurors to the courtrooms throughout the county. For the lesser cases, the misdemeanors, or some of the smaller value cases, those are to the towns and village and city courts. And then we have the Supreme Court, where most civil matters take place, where the Honorable Joseph Gerasi presided for so long. And then we have the county court, and in our county, that's where most of the felonies or the serious crimes take place, as we saw here today with our grand larceny. I wanted to let you know a little bit about jury service, because just like in a school, the students are the most important people. In the courthouse, the jurors are the most important component of our judicial system. As you see here today, they are going to be the ones deciding. And again, it's very important. They have to determine the truth. And they have to base that to the best of their ability on the evidence presented. And very shortly, I'm sure we'll see how this jury will decide the fate of Courtney. But more importantly is, how do I get those people into the courthouse? To be a juror in our county, or in any county in our state for that matter, it doesn't take much. Many years ago, there were exemptions, and certain people, depending on your job, wouldn't have to report. Attorneys and judges, firemen and clergy didn't have to report for jury duty. If you had small children at home, you didn't have to come. Well, as people looked at that, and litigants particularly looked at that, it really wasn't a fair system, because you weren't getting a cross-section. You weren't getting a whole mix of the county's residents. So a lot of those exemptions were done away with in the mid-90s in our state. And now, to be a juror in our county, you only have to be a resident of our county. You have to be 18 or over. You have to be able to understand and communicate in the English language. And you also have to be not convicted of a felony. But other than that, anybody can report. And as these gentlemen will tell you, we've had judges report for jury duty. I actually was called last month and had to report to Supreme Court. and participate in a jury selection myself. So there's a good cross-section of the community now that comes in. And in Mayville, for our Supreme and County Court, we usually have our civil jurors, the ones that come in on non-criminal cases. Those are cases involving disputes between parties, or in cases where someone is alleging one party was negligent in some manner. Those cases, we usually pick a jury on a Friday, and then the case will continue the next week. And we pick a jury on Tuesdays for our felony cases. In our felony cases, we have 12 jurors that are selected out of our what we call our pool of jurors, usually with a couple of alternates, 2 alternate jurors, just in case during the course of the trial one or more of the jurors get sick or has a problem and can't report. A civil case, we usually have 6 jurors with 1 or 2 alternates. What else? Let's see. What else should I talk to them about, Judge? Is there anything else? The other people that work in the courtroom with the jurors, we have clerks, as I acted as the clerk today, and we have Jerry Lenicky, who is a court reporter, and they're a very important person in the courtroom. They take down with the machine that they have there every single word that's said. They preserve the entire transcript of the trial, which is a very important aspect of our court operations.
Or maybe Jerry can give some...
Let me just talk for a few minutes.
Sure, go right ahead.
I will, before the jury comes in, I'm going to ask for a show of hands of guilt or innocence, but go ahead.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Lenicky, and I am what is known as a stenographer, also known as a court reporter in some circles, and also known as a court stenographer, however you want to look at it. Reporters also we're called. We have our little machine here, and of course you've seen everybody's role and what their duties are in the courtroom. My duty, as Ms. Krause said, is to make a record of everything that goes on in the courtroom. And you saw everything that happened here this morning, and you may have seen me doing my little thing over here, and you may have thought afterwards, you know, what was his role? What did he really do? What is his purpose in the courtroom? He sat in the corner, he was quiet, he didn't really impose himself on anything. Well, as we may find later, depending on what happens to Courtney, we have a jury system, and our system in New York State is set with different levels of court, and there's a reason for that. We here in this court are a court which appeals can be taken from. If, by chance, Courtney is found guilty today, she may not agree with the verdict. She may feel that the jury has made a mistake, and she may make a decision to appeal that decision of the jury to a higher court, an appeals court, and ask for that verdict to be set aside or to be overturned, and to ask for her case to be heard again in front of another jury. And a court